For many couples, approaching retirement feels like you're finally crossing that finish line. After years of contributing to your retirement accounts, watching your investments grow, and making smart financial decisions, seeing your portfolio where it is at today can feel like a huge accomplishment. But once you've got to that point, I've heard retirees often ask, have we saved enough? And what kind of retirement will this actually allow us to enjoy? That's the purpose of today's video. Is I want to show you what a real retirement income plan can look like for a couple who has saved a little over $2 million for retirement. But before I do, I think it's important to cover the three challenges that retirees will often face as they enter retirement. The first challenge is that of longevity. Today's generations of retirees is they're living longer lives, which means longer retirements, and we need to make sure we have a plan that lasts. Second is inflation. This is actually magnified by the fact that retirement is lasting longer. The longer your retirement is, the greater the impact that inflation can have. Although inflation doesn't seem like a major threat to today, little by little, after year, it can have a huge impact, and potentially you'll need double the amount of income in 30 years just to maintain your current standard of living. And then the last challenge is market volatility. Many seniors are used to the fact that markets will fluctuate quite frequently. But market declines feel much bigger once you're in retirement, especially as you're drawing off of your investments. So what is the right balance between having conservative investments as well as growth-focused investments to keep up with inflation? And so with that in mind, the perennial income model that I'm going to show you today will address those three challenges. So on the screen, you should see a hypothetical couple of David and Julie Smith. And David and Julie, they're both 65. They've saved roughly $2.2 million for retirement, and they're planning on retiring next month. And after working with them and running an analysis, we decided that it would make sense for them to claim their Social Security benefits at 67. So in their situation, they've got their investments and their Social Security. So this is the overall plan once we put everything together, your Social Security as well as their investments. And the number that most people are going to want to look at is this one right here that tells them what their monthly income could look like in retirement, which is $13,262 per month. So I want to show you how we calculated that. And first, I want to show you how Social Security kicks in. So if we scroll down here to the second page, we look at David's Social Security is expected to be about $3,750 per month, starting at age 67. So for the first couple of years, he'll need to live off of investments, and then he'll claim his benefit. Julie, on the other hand, she has primarily been a homemaker, and so because she isn't eligible for her own Social Security benefit, she's going to claim what's called a spousal benefit, which is 50% of David's at her full retirement age of 67. And Julie's a year younger. So you can see David will claim his benefit in a couple of years, and then Julie will claim her benefit the year after. So if we add both of those columns together, that gives us this total income column. And we're going to take this column and plug it in right here where it says other income. So think of other income as their Social Security income. And so we actually read this from right to left. So this column is the income from investments plus their Social Security income equals their total monthly income here. So how do we calculate the investment income? So something that's important that we're assuming in this plan is not only are we going to create this stream of income, but we're also assuming that David and Julie want to end their retirement with the same amount that they started. So at age 94, they want to end with $2.2 million. And I'll explain why here in just a minute. But day one of retirement, how we create this income is we take their retirement savings of 2.2 and we spread it across these different segments. Every segment is responsible to provide 5 years of income. So segment one, we're assuming a 1% growth rate on this capital preservation portfolio. And the reason for that is because that money needs to be very stable, very conservatively invested to be able to provide the first 5 years of income. So you can see for the first couple of years, we're going to withdraw the full $13,262 per month since they haven't claimed Social Security yet. And then once David claims his benefit, it will drop. and then it'll drop again when Julie claims her benefit. So what this calculation is doing, we're trying to figure out what's the maximum amount of monthly income that they could live on when we factor in all their different sources of income. So as we're spending the $606,000 down to zero, the other segments are growing for them. So segment 2, we take $453,835 of the original 2.2, and we're invested in a conservative growth account, and we're assuming a 3% growth rate. Why 3%? Well, now they have 5 years before they need to tap into that part of their portfolio, turning that $453,835 to $527,182 per $182, which will then be responsible for the next 5 years of income of $9,004 from investments per month, plus their Social Security per month equals their total monthly income. And if we scroll here down below, you'll see every 5 years their income will increase. And that's for 2 reasons. One, Social Security adjusts for inflation every single year. We're just reflecting it every 5 years. But also we've built into this a inflation adjustment on their investment income. Because again, retirees need to make sure that their investment plan is keeping up with inflation. And so we do the same process for all these other segments. Once they grow to their target goal, then they provide income for the next 5 years of income. Now, something that was important was we have this legacy segment. This legacy segment says if we start with, take $201,175 of the 2.2, and if we were to invest that in all equities, all stock related investments, and earn an 8% return, which again is very conservative, that will turn the $201,175 back to the original 2.2 million that they started with. Now, 2.2 million in 30 years isn't going to feel like $2.2 million today does because of inflation. But instead of this being considered as a legacy, even though that's what it's called, it's more of a safety net. And what if, because retirees are living longer, what if David and Julie end up living longer than age 94? Then they can create a whole new income plan based on that 2.2. Or what if they end up having long-term care events, so the last few years of their lives, and need to tap into additional resources in addition to their monthly income? Right? They can tap into this legacy segment. It's considered a legacy because whatever is left over is ultimately what passes on to your heirs or children. So having that legacy segment can bring a lot of peace of mind, knowing that we don't know what's in store for retirement or what major withdrawals or events that we might need that money for. But it's a nice safety net there. So now a couple of things just to point out, we're using ultra conservative growth rates here across the board. We'd much rather show you these lower growth rates than assume much higher ones to be able to make these plans more realistic. Should you be doing better? Absolutely. But we want to make sure that these plans are more realistic. And then the last thing here I'll point out, you think by drawing down your income every 5 years to zero that your balance would be decreasing. But if you look at this total value column, it stays around that 2.2 million throughout your retirement while drawing this investment income per month over that 30-year retirement. So kind of in conclusion, if we look back at those challenges and longevity, do we have a plan for longevity, making sure the money lasts? Yes. If we talk about inflation, is their investment income keeping up with inflation by doing it this way? And then lastly, market volatility. By having the right investments be conservative to be able to live on, while having some investments invested for growth and keeping up with inflation, it finds that right balance. So if you are in a similar situation that is similar to David and Julie's, and you like to see what your income plan would look like with your actual numbers, we'd be happy to run that for you. It is a complimentary review, and there's no obligation to work with us, but we would be happy to prepare a plan for you, and you can have a real income plan in your hands to give you an idea of what your retirement could look like.